2 bits of news.
Yes? News?
Probably not good news for anybody. Yay. One, as the recording of this, the 5th of July, the big bullshit bill passed.
Yes.
So everything's going to get bad. Though I believe they did take out the...
Park thing?
Yeah, the stuff about destroying all the parks. So that's good. But I think that's the only good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why people are celebrating this like it's some kind of big win when it's just going to be rich people get very rich. And then poor people, there might be tax cuts for, I think, 3 years until the Democrats come back in. Because that's how they always schedule these things. It's like, we'll make it so the tax cuts run out. Because that's what Trump did the first time. People forget is like, I think it was by like 2024 or something, the taxes for the poor people drop off, you know, like the tax breaks, and then, or maybe it was 2020, but they do it so the tax thing that seems to benefit Americans runs out, but the ones for the rich are permanent. But there's a lot of awful shit in that, and hopefully by like the recording and dropping of the next few episodes, maybe there would be a giant revolution.
Yes.
Probably not.
No, probably not.
Probably more like financial slavery.
Though I wonder how many people who lost their health insurance blew off at least one finger last night.
I could imagine a good many. Also, it's interesting that the people that are going to be most affected by this are from the red states that voted for Trump. But also, I don't believe, just by looking at the current statistics, it seems very unlikely that every swing state voted for Trump when they voted like all Democrats except for the president.
Yeah.
Doesn't make fucking sense. So anyway, that's shit news.
I wonder how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. In other shit news, this isn't actually shit news, at least not for us, but maybe for potential guests. If you look on our Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff, I made a specific post today, finally got around to doing it, that an official announcement that we are invite only to be a guest on the show. If you've been on before, you're allowed to come on. Again, we don't mind. It's just strangers mainly, because I get so many emails I can't respond. It's getting a little ridiculous, and the thing that sucks is like there's probably people that I do know that I'm missing because like there's so many emails. I don't even fucking look at them anymore, and it's getting out of control. So I made the announcement. Hopefully it doesn't have the opposite effect of invite only. Now let's all try to get on.
Well, mostly too, we've been talking about we really need to upgrade our equipment a little bit if we're gonna start having more frequent guests, because like that's also part of it. It's not necessarily having new people on.
Yeah.
Because as long as they're not assholes about trying to schedule things, that's not that difficult. But
I mean, I already had to buy a second new laptop for the guest because the other one shit the bed.
Right.
And then that was already a problem. And then with the mixer, like sound goes out randomly. It's fine when it's just us because I can edit it and make it so the listeners don't notice. But when there's a guest on, that could be potentially embarrassing.
Yeah.
And also just be, I hate wasting people, because we had a couple times where people came on and we couldn't hear them. They couldn't hear us. And it's just like, no, we wasted somebody from Ireland's time.
Right.
And it's fucking annoying. So I don't want to keep doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, we need a new mixer and everything. But fucking as the first bit of news, times are tough and that's not great. But like I said, if you just especially if you just want to DM me on Instagram personally, because if you're following me, that means you're probably allowed on the podcast anyway. So if you did want to be a guest, we could schedule something.
Because I like doing the guest episodes.
Oh yeah, they're fun. But also, which you brought up is a really good point. The last time we talked about this is we never have time to read their work. That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I still feel like we do all right interviews, but it's really hard when like we have somebody promoting their book. I always use David Scott Hayes as an example because we actually did read his book finally way after the fact.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that episode would have been so much better if we read the book before, but we didn't have time.
Yeah, because not even talking about like the book itself, but about style and craft and stuff, those kind of things.
And what really annoys me is I have a whole shelf of books people sent us when they, before they came on, but we got it like a week or 5 days or whatever before the episode. It's like, I'm sorry, we couldn't read it. You came on, I read a chapter or like skimmed it. So that's just not fair to the person coming on.
Also, and it also kind of makes it difficult for us and them too, because it's like they send us one book. Yeah. And there's two of us, and like you said, within that short time period, it's like
I read it, then give it to you.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. Even like Richard Chismar the one time sent us the Boogeyman sequel. Only one copy.
Yeah.
So I had to read it, then you had to read it. It's like, come on, Chismar, I know you got this fucking warehouse full of shit that you keep giving away.
You're always giving stuff away.
Just give us a second book. But anyway, that's the only news. Like I said, it's not really a big deal. If you still want to come on even if you're a stranger and you think we would like to have you, or you have something interesting, and not just, a lot of it is like CEOs that are trying to write books and shit. Like that's what we get. Or a lot of lawyers or people that are already rich and really don't need the exposure. That's like the publicists reach out. I'm just like,
Like people, probably like it's like people that are doing it as a hobby.
Yeah, like I would rather have serious writers. Not saying those people aren't serious about their writing, but I'd rather have like, not struggling, but people that they're going to benefit more by coming on a podcast versus somebody who can fucking pay to get on any podcast, Which, if you want to pay us, that's different. Different story.
That will also up your chances.
$100, we'll have you on tomorrow. We'll schedule it for you. I'll take off work for some certain amount of money. $1,000, I'm off work that day.
Yep.
Anytime you sit 3 a.m, fuck it. But anyway, yeah, there's that news. And like I said, if you want to just DM me personally on Instagram, or if you're a stranger but you think that we might be... you have something that we would actually like to talk about or something, even if it's not writing related, you can DM us on Instagram or maybe even Facebook. Those are the two I'm more likely to see, more than the emails, because like I said, the emails are just too much. But anyway, we have an episode about dialogue today.
Oh, okay.
This one will be examples. And then I think this is going to be not a 2-part episode. It could be. I don't know how long it's going to be. But this is going to be a 2-episode recording day.
Yay.
Yay. Because that's another thing is now we're trying to bank episodes so we don't have to record every single week. We can do other shit with our lives.
Yeah.
People don't realize how much effort and time goes into this splendid podcast. You're listening to the DPW podcast, the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother. I am your host, Caleb James. With me, as always, Spencer, the Oceanic Orphanage Operator Church.
Okay.
Oceania is New Zealand and Australia and all that shit. You're operating an orphanage.
Oh.
I just figured that's... apropos for the
this is me
going again with the news in the opening. There's going to be a lot of actually probably orphanages closing, so I would imagine you would need to fund all these potential orphans that are going to be coming about.
I'm just trying to get like my Batmans and Spider-Mans and
Oh, there's going to be a lot of that. I just fear that they're not going to actually try to save the day. They're going to go villain.
Oh
route.
yeah,
I would.
Yeah,
I'd go villain route. Today we are stepping into the portal of Reedsy blog.
Ooh.
Reedsy usually has interesting articles. I don't know if we've done one in a while. This is from 2023. This is written by editorial team. Edited by Martin Kavanaugh.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because of Brett Kavanaugh, but I hate the name Kavanaugh.
It always seems to be the last name of like a douchebag.
Yeah, nothing to you, not saying you're a douchebag, Martin, but what is it? Grown Ups 2, Steve Austin's character is Kavanaugh.
Yeah, and in fiction it's used a lot as
bad guy. Not bad guy, like frat boy, drunken bully guy. So today we are discussing 15 examples of great dialogue and why they work so well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's only 15, but there's actually a lot here. So either this will be a 2-part episode or I'm going to speed it up.
Okay.
Well, maybe both. Not because I don't feel like doing a lot of reading, but I don't want to edit an hour episode every week. I'd rather just do a couple 30-minute episodes.
There you go.
Some shorter ones. So, great dialogue we know great dialogue is hard to pin down. We know it. We don't want to talk about it.
We've been through this.
We've written dialogue. We've written bad dialogue. We've written good dialogue. I always write good dialogue. I've never written bad dialogue.
I feel like my dialogue comes easier. If it's good or not, it's hard to say, but I normally have an easier time writing the dialogue than like all the,
action and prose. Narration. And you know what I watched last night on YouTube? I wish I could remember the channel. It was like a video essay about Christoph Waltz playing Hans, what was his name? Lawnman?
Oh.
Not Gruber.
Yeah.
Hans, I forget his last name on there, but from Inglourious Bastards how he did the part. And like, obviously Quentin Tarantino is very well known for his dialogue, does an excellent job. And the dialogue was great in the movie, but it shows some examples of how the dialogue comes across as plain, but then Christoph Waltz just throwing in a random laugh or just a few things, into the dialogue, just like blew it up into like, you know, he won an Oscar. Like it just made what would have been a okay or good movie a fucking fantastic movie. So if you can find that, I'm sure if you just look up maybe just Christoph Waltz and I don't know, Christoph Waltz, Glorious Bastards, I'm sure it'll come up because it seemed popular.
That is like the weird thing about, like, I always think about like writing for, like, if you ever got around, like, you know, if you got to be like in a writing room for like a show or like a movie or something like that, and it's just like, right, because like you'd have to write it differently, or have to have that in your mind of like
how they're gonna act it out.
how it's gonna be portrayed by the actor.
Well, I brought that up because I think it's important as a writer to write dialogue as if someone was gonna act it out.
Yeah.
Or it's just a real scene. Because that's the thing is, like, we've all read dialogue where it's like, oh, these are supposed to be teenagers. Why do they sound like they're in their 40s and they're college professors? Or, okay, this person's poor, but they sound like they're fucking borderline mentally challenged. Like, why are they so stupid?
Or, like, you know, they're supposed to be mad, but it doesn't, they don't even, either they're not using the right punctuation or just, like, the word choice is like, well, you wouldn't say that if you're mad.
Or what was, like, the popular one from Harry Potter? It was something about Dumbledore, and he like, says something. It's like, get out of here, exclamation point. Dumbledore said calmly or something stupid. And it's like, what? That doesn't fit. Anyway, we're opening up this article with Barbara Kingsolver. It's an interesting name. From Barbara Kingsolver Unsheltered. In the opening of Barbara Kingsolver's Unsheltered, we meet Willa Knox, a middle-aged and newly unemployed writer who has just inherited a ramshackle house. Fucking inheriting anything. What that's like two Americas. I don't know any. My brother, I guess, inherited a house, but that's it.
But again, like, it's almost like that. Like, he inherited it, but it's like a shack. It's like,
and also it just saddled him with a lifetime of well, not even debt, just a lifetime of
like responsibility.
Yeah, just derailed that. I somehow I avoided. By not inheriting all this property and stuff,
well,
somehow I avoided.
Well, he's a little bit older than you, right?
5 years.
So, you know, older brother, you know,
well, at the same time, I don't think either of us were equipped to handle,
right?
You know, all the acres of him. He was more than me, though.
When he dies, you'll get it.
Yeah, I'll sell it. This is the dialogue, by the way. The simplest thing would be to tear it down, the man said. The house is in shambles. The house is a shambles. In shambles works for me. It says a shambles, so I had to correct that.
Yeah.
Bad dialogue. We'll continue. She took this news as a blood rush to the ears, a roar of peasant ancestors with rocks in their fist, facing the evictor. But this man was a contractor. Willa had called him here, and she could send him away. She waited out her panic while he stood looking at her shambles. Appearing to nurse some satisfaction from his diagnosis, she picked out words. It's not a living thing. You can't just pronounce it dead. Anything that goes wrong with the structure can be replaced with another structure. Am I right? Correct. What I am saying is that the structure needing to be replaced is all of it. I'm sorry, your foundation is non-existent. It's supposed to be great. I mean, it reads good.
Yeah.
Like, you read that, and you're like, oh, that's, you know, good. But when I read it out loud, that doesn't sound like how people talk to me.
No.
Personally.
Or, like, I feel like there should have been more breaks in the dialogue of, like, as he's saying that, you know, he moved his hands, like, or, you know what I mean? I feel like that would help break it up and not feel as much of just like a person talking for 2 minutes straight.
With literary fiction, you get more of the monologues, it seems. Alfred Hitchcock once described drama as life with the boring bits cut out. In this passage, Kingsolver cuts out the boring parts of Willa's conversation with her contract. So that's why, because there is a little bit of a narration there. So she just like stopped listening to him and then listened to get. So you didn't get like all the. So maybe I just didn't read that well enough that you can get. I mean, I didn't read it as you know, I was missing a big chunk of stuff. But anyway, we'll just skip on to the next one. If you want to check out this article, it is blog.readsy.com. 15 examples of great dialogue, because I'm going to skip a lot of it because these are actually broken down a lot more. But I, one, don't feel like it's that important to read, and two, I don't want to. 2, Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. This is Spencer's favorite book. In the first piece of dialogue in Pride and Prejudice, we meet Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, as Mrs. Bennet attempts to draw her husband into a conversation about neighborhood gossip. And we're going to find out why Pride and Prejudice is so great and has the best dialogue in the world, and women have read it since it came out, and they make movies, and we need to read it. So I am told over and over.
By who?
Ashley told me to read it.
Well,
when he read it. My dear Mr. Bennet, said the My dear Mr. Bennett, said his lady to him one day, have you heard that Netherfield Park is let at last? I don't know what that means. Mr. Bennett replied that he had not. But it is, returned she, for Mrs. Long has just been here, and she told me all about it. Oh, sorry. Mr. Bennett made no answer. Do you not want to know who has taken it? Cried his wife impatiently. You want to tell me, and I have no objection to hearing it. This was invitation enough. Why, my dear, you must know. Mrs. Long says that Netherfield is... Fucking don't care!
Well,
God, why is that a book?
Well, when was that written?
Fuck off. That's when.
Because like that could also be like
1800s.
So I mean, you gotta throw that in there too with the dialogue. Like
I just don't care about rich ladies fucking courting guys.
Oh well, yeah, of course. But I'm just saying,
Austen's dialogue is always witty, subtle, and packed with character.
To your grandmother.
Great-grandmother. This extract from Pride and Prejudice is a great example of dialogue being used to develop character relationships. I get the importance, but I just don't care. I'm going to skip the the 5 following paragraphs and just go into the next one. There are some people on here I'm interested to read. We got some Steinbecks and stuff. Okay. But for some reason, they front-loaded this article with a bunch of lady books. Or just, women authors. Women. They're right. I'm reading a female written book right now.
Oh, yeah?
I'm reading
can't remember. You chauvinistic pig.
It's Madeline Crane. I'm reading her book. Let me just fucking look at the picture. It's a name I don't normally. I'm reading Beyond the Frost Cold Sea.
And how's that?
It's a Conan-esque book. It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's a fantasy, adventure-y. It's fun. I'm halfway through. I'm liking it. Number 3, Naomi Alderman, The Power. In The Power, young women around the world suddenly find themselves capable of generating and controlling electricity. In this passage, between 2 boys and a girl who just used those powers to light her cigarette. You look excited. All right. Kyle gestures with his chin and says, heard a bunch of guys killed a girl in Nebraska last week for doing that. For smoking? Harsh. Hunter says, half the kids in school know you can do it. So what? Hunter says, I don't like that they front load the dialogue tags on all these. I don't know why. I'm more of a after.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I do it in the front. Breaks it up. Hunter says, your dad could use you in his factory. Save money on electricity. He's not my dad. She makes the silver flicker at the ends of her fingers again. The boys watch.
You didn't say that right. It needs to be, he's not my dad.
He's not my dad.
Yeah.
Alderman here uses a show don't tell approach to expositional dialogue. Within this short exchange, we discover a lot about Allie. So it's good to use dialogue as a way. That's what I do a lot. That's one of the advanced writer techniques that I feel I've been doing in my work now is besides just showing action through the dialogue, like, instead of having the exposition, you're okay. They work in a factory. I'm not showing them working in a factory. I'm not telling you they work in a factory. They're telling, they're talking about the factory and you get it. That, and I use the dialogue as a means to develop the character relationships and to, which is the hard ones. Nicholas Obregon was telling me about, or he suggested to me, which I did do, but I never really focused on it, is like, in my one story, I open up with like, oh, he stepped over to his brother, and then they start talking. It's like, don't step over to the brother. You find a way to throw in the brother into the dialogue so it's more natural. Like, you find out they're brothers through the dialogue. I do that by, talking about their dad. Instead of just going, oh, there's his brother, which is not just lazy, but also easy.
See, I was thinking like you could either, I don't know if this would be in enough of the advance, but even just start out the story like, hey, bro, something like, such and such said to,
Yeah, something easier. But this one, in the dialogue, they're talking about her power, so it's not explicitly stated in exposition. It was like, oh, women have power. You show they have powers.
And also, too, we don't know where from that story, how far into the story that is plucked, so it,
Right. Next up, number 4, Kazuo Ishiguro. I've still been wanting to read his work. I still have that, something from the sun.
I don't know.
I thought I told you to get that.
You might have.
It's about a AI robot love thing or something. He won a fucking Nobel Prize for writing. He's one of them Japanese British guys.
Okay.
So he's Japanese, but he's British.
Oh.
So he looks Japanese.
But
I'm pretty sure sounds British.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, friends.
Actually Italian.
Here, fucking Italian. Can you imagine Japanese, British, Italian guys? Here, friends Tommy and Kathy have a conversation after Tommy has had a meltdown. After being bullied by a group of boys, he has been stomping around in the mud, the precise reaction they were hoping to evoke from him. Tommy, I said, quite sternly. I'm going to do it sternly. Tommy, I said, quite sternly, there's mud all over your shirt. So what? He mumbled. It's hard when you got to read the whole thing. I'm going to start over. Tommy, I said, quite sternly, there's mud all over your shirt. So what? He mumbled. But even as he said this, he looked down and noticed the brown specks and only just stopped himself from crying out in alarm. Then I saw the surprise register on his face that I should know about his feelings for the polo shirt. It's nothing to worry about, I said. Before the silence got humiliating for him, it'll come off. If you can't get it off yourself, just take it to Miss Jody. She'll get you off. He went on examining his shirt, then said grumpily, it's nothing to do with you anyway. This episode from Never Let Me Go highlights the power of interspersing action beats within dialogue. That's what I think I'd do good as the end. That's what you were talking about, interspersing action beats with the dialogue. I think that just makes for a more fun read, but that's probably also because we both like to read genre and pulp stuff.
I was going to say, I've been trying in the story that I'm working on now
to incorporate those.
That's been a thing. Like I'm trying not to do too much. Like I'm not trying to have it like in every paragraph, but like I do try to have it every couple pages, just to, like, because like you said too, to kind of help speed it. Doesn't seem as stale or stagnant.
Also, I think it's better, especially in a faster pace or pulp story, especially like crime and any kind of things, horror even, where instead of just having dialogue, action. So, they have a dialogue and then you show them fiddling around and doing whatever they're doing and then more dialogue. Show the action within the dialogue. You break it up. I think that reads better and it's less monotonous, less formulaic, and it's more interesting. Though we both read literary fiction where, again, huge monologue, narration and action and all this shit, and then another fucking monologue, and it's like, come on, break it up more. I got this new fucking... a couple months ago, I put a new screen protector on because mine cracked, and I must have did it wrong because I can't get the thumbprint to work, so I had to switch to the face one, and that fucking thing sucks. Number 5, J.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit.
Okay.
The eponymous hobbit Bilbo is engaged in a game of riddles with the strange creature Gollum. One of my favorite scenes. I'm not going to do the voices.
No. Is he all precious like at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
What have I got in my pocket? He said aloud. He was talking to himself, but Gollum thought it was a riddle, and he was frightfully upset. Not fair, he hissed. It isn't fair, my precious, is it, to ask us what it's got in the nasty little pocketses? Gotta throw a little bit because it's spelled like that. Nasty little pocketses? Bilbo, seeing what had happened and having nothing better to ask, struck to his question. What have I got in my pocket? He said louder. Hissed Gollum. It must give us 3 guesses, my precious, 3 guesses. Very well. Guess away, said Bilbo. Handses, said Gollum. Wrong, said Bilbo, who had luckily just taken his hands out again. Guess again, said Gollum, more upset than ever. It's a great fucking scene, and just like, especially when it was written, to be able to just find it so enjoyable. Because
I can't remember how you said, like, he actually wrote The Hobbit before The Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, he originally...
But did they get published in that order?
Yeah, he wrote The Hobbit, but the ring wasn't that... Like, that scene, I think, was in there, but it wasn't that important, and, like, obviously Gollum wasn't going to be, like, a main character or anything. But then when he wrote Lord of the Rings, he decided, well, that's a big thing. I need to go back into The Hobbit and rework. And I think he rewrote parts of The Hobbit and then republished it.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly. And that's why if you get like a first edition, it's different. It's more valuable.
Oh, okay.
So Tolkien's dialogue for Gollum is a masterclass in creating distinct character voices. And that's another thing I do in my writing. And I got that a lot from actually Cormac McCarthy with the accents.
Oh, yeah, because, and also, too, that's the only way you can fucking tell if somebody's talking or not.
Well, yeah, in his work. But I like that when you're writing either period pieces or regional specific places into your work. You want to have an authentic feel to it. I don't go H.P. Lovecraft too hard. Mm-hmm. I don't even go sometimes McCarthy a little too hard on the accent. I keep it, readable. But I do use accents, and I also, in a lot of my work, have used even like the hissing thing for a lot of villains. Mm-hmm. I've done that with monsters. I always make it so it's not, unless it's really supposed to be, it's not overdone. It's in a way so it's like this person seems off, and I can tell because like their S's are like hissing kind of, or, they have a weird stutter, or if you give them a weird tick, even that's a good way to show that this character is different. Mm-hmm. If I'm not going with bad guys, obviously, but you could do that with good guys too. You can give them, maybe this guy had a bad childhood because he tends to mumble his words to the ground rather than speak directly while looking at someone in the eye. You can do different things like that, and the way they talk is always important. Next up, number 6, F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. And you know what? This will be a 2-part episode.
Well, why fuck Scott Fitzgerald?
Because he's a dickhead.
Oh, okay.
Scott Fitzgerald. That's from TED, folks. Yeah. If you don't, just look it up. Great clip. Why fuck Scott? Why are you saying fuck Scott Fitzgerald? What? The narrator, Nick, has just done his new neighbor Gatsby a favor by inviting... You didn't open it like that. Nick has just done his new neighbor. That's one of those things, if you don't read the whole sentence, it's going to go awry. The narrator, Nick, has just done his new neighbor Gatsby a favor by inviting his beloved Daisy over for tea. 2T, not 4T. Same difference. Perhaps in return, Gatsby then attempts to make a shady business proposition. I like The Great Gatsby. I'm the only one. You don't like it?
I haven't read it.
But you don't like it, I could tell. Mike hates it. He hates The Gatsby.
I feel like I would probably not enjoy it, though. I don't know why. Because it's not like the writing in it's like that.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Is it
language?
Is it very like
everything's
flowery?
Metaphor, I think, and it's flowery and beautiful and just fantastic. But I like the 20s and jazz and rich people just living in excess and being fucking. They're on Diddy parties. Gatsby parties were Diddy parties.
Yeah,
essentially.
Just
minus the freak-offs.
Yeah.
Some freak-offs. But it's just
no baby oil.
Yeah, but the book just described like fucking people wrecking in the outside of the house and the cars that they just were invented. And, like they're just shitty people.
I like the Family Guy spoof of
The
Great Gatsby.
No more Family Guy. No more. Well, you brought up Ted. Same difference.
Yeah.
All right, so here is The Great Gatsby. Please say Old Sport. I never get to say Old Sport on here. Remember for a while I was saying Old Sport?
Yeah.
After I read Gatsby, I was calling everybody Old Sport. I need to bring that back. There's another little thing, he said uncertainly, and hesitated. Would you rather put it off for a few days, I asked. Oh, it isn't about that. At least, he fumbled with a series of beginnings. Look here, Old Sport. You don't make much money, do you? Not very much. This seemed to reassure him, and he continued more confidently. I thought you didn't. If you'll pardon my UC, I carry on a little business on the side, a little sideline, if you understand. And I thought that if you don't make very much, you're selling bonds, aren't you, Old Sport? Trying to. So you get a lot of hesitation. And this dialogue from The Great Gatsby is a great example of how to make dialogue sound natural. Gatsby tripping over his own words, even interrupting himself as marked by the M-dashes, not only makes his nerves and awkwardness palpable, but also mimics real speech. That's what I have a little bit of a problem with. I do in my dialogue a lot, is like the M-dashes to cut off a speech, like somebody interrupts. I think I do well. But like this one, which I tried to convey it by reading it, but it's a little tricky, is like the stopping. I don't know if you can see that, but like stopping.
Oh, like, yeah.
Fumbling the words and then going into, so for example, I thought you didn't. If you'll pardon my, I carry on, like it's not complete thoughts. It's easier, I think, when you're reading it than it is to say out loud, but that's how people can, talk. So that's a little bit tricky, and I probably should do more of that. See, I feel like I always do the ellipses, the dot.
I was gonna say that one seems like, just from that little bit that you showed me, like those would work better because
it's more abrupt.
Well, because I use like the dash for if like somebody's getting cut off, or something like that.
But if somebody cuts themselves off with a new thought, that works the same.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea. Whereas I use the ellipses, but that gives you more of a pause, I feel. So, like if you're using the ellipses, I feel like it's still an incomplete thought, but it doesn't naturally go into the next thought, maybe, which is probably why I should stop using them. But unless somebody's like meandering slowly, then. But like if somebody's talking like that, like quick, and they're just cutting themselves off and starting again, I think the M dash works better. We'll end on number 7, and then we'll do the next episode. Will be a continuation. What's half of 15? 7.5.
Yeah.
So I'll do half of it. No.
We'll start the next one this episode and end it on the next episode.
That'd be the cold open. Number 7, some fella named Arthur Conan Doyle, A Study in Scarlet.
Ooh. We read this. We did read that.
On the podcast, we covered it.
I keep on meaning I want to read more Sherlock Holmes.
There's a lot more things I want to read. I want to read fucking everything. What do? I go buy the Border trilogy. One big book so I could read it all.
Together.
Yeah. In his first meeting between the two heroes of Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes story, Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, John is introduced to Sherlock while the latter is hard at work in the lab. So this is the opening of their meeting, first ever meeting in Hall of Sherlock Holmes. Unless there's a retcon, which I don't think there is. "How are you?" he said cordially, gripping my hand with a strength for which I should hardly have given him credit. "You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive. How on earth did you know that?" I asked in astonishment. "Never mind," said he, chuckling to himself. "Ha ha ha. The question now is about hemoglobin." The question now... This is not a natural way looking... It is, I guess, if you're those guys. Threw me off. "The question now is about hemoglobin. No doubt you see the significance of this discovery of mine." "It is interesting. Chemically, no doubt," I answered. "But practically? Why, man, it is the most practical medico-legal discovery for years. Don't you see that it gives us an infallible test for bloodstains? Come over here, now!" He seized me by the coat sleeve in his eagerness and drew me over to the table at which he had been working. "Let us have some fresh blood," he said, digging a long bodkin into his finger, Jesus, and drawing off the resulting drop of blood in a chemical pipette. "Now I add this small quantity of blood to a liter of water. You perceive that the resulting mixture has the appearance of pure water. The proportion of blood cannot be more than 1 in a million. I have no doubt, however, that we shall be able to obtain the characteristic reaction." As he spoke, he threw into the vessel a few white crystals and then added some drops of a transparent fluid. In an instant, the contents assumed a dull mahogany color, and a brownish dust was precipitated to the bottom of the glass jar. "Ha ha!" he cried, clapping his hands and looking as delighted as a child with a new toy. "What do you think of that?" That was a long one.
Yeah.
This passage uses a number of the key techniques for writing naturalistic and exciting dialogue, including characters speaking over one another and the interspersal of action beats. So this is very action-packed. That was good. Showed blood. Anyway, that's our episode. Bye. Next week, we'll discuss the second half of this article. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we doing anything else?
Probably not.
No. If you folks want to check us out on the internet at DPW Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, CalebJamesK.com. You can see my publishing history by Starlight Pulp 6, by Wicked Shadow Presses. What is it? Flash of the
Dead.
Flash of the Dead Reloaded, featuring Spencer Church. You have something else coming out yet? Maybe.
Hopefully here soon, according to emails.
Yeah, apparently. Keep an eye out for Spencer in something else.
Yeah.
Maybe next week. See, that's the thing. We record this. It could be out next week, but we won't have an update because we're recording back to back. And also, if you want to check out Spencer's charitable works, he is the Oceanic, only in Oceania.
Yeah.
So out in New Zealand stuff, who actually don't need help. He is operating orphanages.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Trying to get some Batmans.
That's good. You're trying to get some Australian Batmans.
Yeah.
We thank you for listening, and we'll check you out next week with the follow-up episode. See you later, and Stay easy, baby.